Hello again, dear my friends, followers, and also channel members. Welcome back to the BoomerangSimPilot channel. And today we are right now maintaining flight level 200 on a holding just before approach to Golf Charlie Lima Papa Gran Canaria Airport. As instructed by the ATC, we are on hold at flight level 200, and we are at this moment going to have a full brief and also a detailed review of two kinds of approach technique which are recommended by the Airbus according to some definitions, also descriptions and instruction by Airbus, and from the other references which collected the information for you on board this flight. On Airbus A320 and mostly on Airbus new generation families, we have two different techniques which are used during the final phase of approach. These techniques are Decelerated Approach and also Yearly Stabilized Approach, each with its own operational philosophy, advantages, and also use cases. Before going to detail about each one, just first have a look about the definition of these two kinds of techniques about the approach speeds. At the first, decelerated approach is an approach technique where the aircraft is flown at higher speed during the initial phase of the final approach and decelerates progressively as it nears the runway. Configuration changes as well as flap, slat, and also gear extension are made at calculated points, allowing the aircraft to arrive at the final approach fix or glide slope intercept point in clean or partially configured state, then gradually configuring and slowing down the final approach speed or V approach by about 1000 feet AGL, or in many other airliners based on SOP will be stabilized at landing configuration and also final approach speed at 1500 feet AGL. But the yearly stabilized approach involves configuring the aircraft yearly, typically before or at the glide slope intercept or between 2000 and 1500 feet AGL, and following the final approach in a fully configured stabilized state and final approach speed or V approach throughout. No major configuration or speed changes are made below the final approach fix also. As here, just let's, according to flight crew techniques manual or FCTM for Airbus A320 family, let's jump into the approach phase activation, then go through the specification of each techniques at the rest of the video. For the approach phase activation, actually if we jump into the MCDU in performance page, you can see activate approach phase option at the bottom left of the MCDU display. Activation of the approach phase will initiate a deceleration toward V approach. If we prompt this one and confirm at the next stage this option, the aircraft will reduce the speed toward the V approach, but according to configuration of the aircraft, initially the speed will be reduced to green dot speed, which is see here, which today is almost 210. uh, or the speed constraint inserted at the final descent point, or FDP. But where is the FDP or final descent point? Is very important, especially for yearly stabilized approach technique. Final descent point is actually the point that on the FMS or MCD you see the calculation of FMGC that the descent angle will initiate on the final maybe. Let's go into the profile view of the ILS Zulu runway 03 left at Gran Canaria, and also Golf Charlie Lima Papa Airport. You can see that the final approach fix, which is not shown here because this is a 3-dimension or 3D approach. The final descent point will be Foxtrot India 03 left. The previous point is Falpu, which the aircraft at least should be at 2,500 feet. But if we refer to MCDU for find the final descent point or FDP here, you can see that the alt constraint at Falpu will be at or above 2,500 feet. If we return to the flight plan page, you see that the 3 degrees angle, which is mentioned here for the glide slope angle with the 3 degrees, it will initiate at Falpu, not Foxtrot India 03 left. It means Falpu is a final descent point for this approach according to FMGC calculation, which shown on the MCDU. For the cadet pilot, I remind that the final descent point is different with final approach point or final approach fix in 2D dimension or 2-dimension approaches. I repeat again, the final descent point or FDP is a place or is a point that the final angle will initiate. Sometimes, according to calculation, it will be final approach point or final approach fix, or maybe in most of the time, according as same as today, it will be different from the final approach point. Right now, the final descent point is Falpu. Good. At this stage, you got and understood the meaning of final descent point, which frequently talked about in Airbus publications. When in nav mode, as same as right now that on the FMA you see the nav in green, with manage speed, we are right now are in selected speed. Let's set the speed manage and decelerate the aircraft toward the green dot speed right now because we are holding over a point. It's a low speed, but for the example right now I set the speed to manage. When the speed is managed and also we are in nav mode, the approach phase activate automatically. It means this option. It will be automatically activated when sequencing the deceleration pseudo waypoint. But what is the next definition of pseudo waypoint right now? Pseudo waypoint is today located just here, just 1 mile before Tiska. Where is Tiska? Here on the chart. Let's jump into the standard arrival procedure. after Lotlu, we are proceeding for the Isle Zulu, and upon reaching the Lotlu as an initial approach fix, the Tisca is here, just 1 mile before Tisca, and almost 5 miles. It's the total mileage of 6 miles. 5 miles will be after Nides, and just 1 mile before Tisca will be the Sudu point. And if we jump into the MCDU, you can see 5 miles after Nides and just 1 mile before Tisca is the Decel point, which is the actually pseudo waypoint for our approach today. But right now I check it in a plan option of the EFIS panel, and you can see this magenta D inside a circle just 1 mile before Tisca. This 210 mile is a speed limitation of this Tisca. It's not related to this pseudo point. But let me reduce the range. You can see that D inside a circle with the indication of pseudo waypoint, which is located just 1 mile before Tisca. If we are in nav mode and speed managed, just during arrival of this point, it means just 1 mile before Tisca, this option of activate approach phase will be activated automatically. There is no need for manually activation of this option. And also, if an yearly deceleration is required just before this pseudo point, what happened? I told you, if the approach phase activated, the aircraft will decelerate in configuration, clean configuration, toward the green dot speed. If you select the flap 1, it means a slat extension during approach. The aircraft will decelerate automatically to S speed. If you select flap 2, the aircraft will decelerate to F speed. And also, if an yearly deceleration just before this pseudo point is needed, the approach phase can be activated on the MCDU performance approach phase as shown here in the performance descent page, or maybe other pages which may be activated just before, but generally in descent, descent page. And also, when the approach phase is activated, the magenta target speed becomes V approach. That will be shown here, the approach speed, but the aircraft is not reduced directly to the approach speed. It will reduce the speed and decelerate toward the approach phase to the approach speed by the configuration that which is under control of the pilots. When the heading mode is engaged, it means out of nav. For example, when the aircraft is under the radar vector of ATC, the crew will activate the approach phase manually as talked already. But we have two kind of approach speed technique that we talked already: decelerated approach and also yearly stabilized. We talked about in definition, but according to Airbus definitions, decelerated approach is a technique that refers to an approach where the aircraft reaches 1000 feet in the landing configuration at V approach. I told you, some SOPs in some airlines instructed pilots to stabilize at 1500 feet, not 1000, especially when you are flying a heavy aircraft, as same as A330, A340, A350 and A380. In most cases, this equates to the aircraft being in configuration 1 and at S speed at the final descent point that we talked about already. This is the preferred technique for an approach using vertical managed guidance. The deceleration pseudo waypoint assume a decelerated approach technique, we talk about the deceleration pseudo waypoint. But for the early stabilized approach, the technique of early stabilized approach refers to an approach where the aircraft reaches the final descent point, which we already talked in a landing configuration and VAPP approach. It means, let's jump into the MCDU and talk about the final descent point and refer to the final descent point again. What was the final descent point? It was FALPU, which the 3 degrees angle of descent will initiate. The recommendation by the Airbus is, if you want to follow the early stabilized approach, you have to insert your approach speed, which is today 140. You should insert this approach speed into your final descent point, which is today FALPU. For example, 140 here. And insert. You see that 140 is magenta at FALPU. What will be happen? It was 190 before, just you reduce this speed at FALPU to 140. If you want to be at 140, you have to be a selection of full configuration about the flaps and also slats and also landing gear down. It means if you want be at FALPU at 140 knots, you should be at landing configuration. Where is FALPU? We refer to chart again. It means about 9 miles from the touchdown, from the runway threshold, correction. From the 9 mile to active runway, you should be at full configuration, and you got your landing configuration and your landing checklist should be done. It's good for some kind of approach. I mean, early stabilized approach is very good for some of approaches. For example, circling approach and non-straighting approaches. It's very good for 2D approaches, as same as localizer, VOR, and NDB approaches. It's very good for mostly some offset approaches. For example, when you are descending through the localizer into Innsbruck, Lima Oscar Whiskey, India, with the angle of which the localizer is different with the runway extended center line, it's a very good decision for go through the early stabilized approach. When you are going through the overweight landing procedure and you do the overlanding procedure, is a good option to go through the early stabilized approach. And the rest of the other item and other situation and also scenario that I prefer to go through the early stabilized approach is a poor weather and low visibility condition. You will be stabilized earlier and you concentrate and focus on your approach around the aircraft, target toward the runway to find the active runway for landing, and focus on your approach, because you are free from the approach configuration and also configure the aircraft and decelerate the aircraft toward the V approach whenever at the final stage of approach. But again, let's jump into the decelerated approach that typically for the advantages. I talk about the early stabilized approach, but for the decelerated approach, it has a fuel efficient in managed descent mode as less drag as produced earlier. The second advantage of actually decelerated approach is maintain higher energy, good for vectoring or avoiding train weather. The next item is useful for long straighting approach where time allows gradual configuration. But you have to do some consideration for decelerated approach when you are going higher speed for your approach. Require precise timing and energy management, higher pilot workload due to configuration change during final segment, as I told you already, not ideal for short final or time critical situation, and must be stabilized by 1000 feet or 1500 feet AGL in IMC or 500 feet AGL in VMC. It was all about the recommendation and also definition of these two techniques about decelerated approach and also yearly stabilized approach. And let's go directly toward the Totku and descending for approach. And just before, let's go to remove 140 from the final descent point of Falpu. I clear this speed and I insert 190 because of the constraint of the approach, which is already checked on the chart. You can see that at Falpu the max speed is 190 knots. ATC cleared us according to constraint to 2000 feet right now, and let's set the 2000 feet here, and based on constraint we initiate our descent. You can see we leave the holding and we are out of holding. The speed of aircraft increased to manage speed, which should be observed at descent section, as you see 280, and the green dot speed was the holding speed. Okay, set the aircraft selection for descent, and next point is Totku should be at or above fly level 140, at or below fly level 140, alt fly level 25 magenta, and descend. Because we are well above for reaching the Totku at fly level 140 at or below, the aircraft initiate the descent with almost 1000 feet rate of descent. But for this definition, what are the Airbus recommendation according to Flight Crew Operating Manual and also Flight Crew Technique Manuals? Airbus supports both techniques, emphasizing stabilization by 1000 feet AGL in IMC and 500 feet AGL in VMC totally. The pilot flying must choose based on ATC conditions, weather, runway lengths, terrain, and operational preference, that which kind of the approach technique should be followed upon reaching the final descent point and also during the approach. Many airliners prefer yearly stabilized approach for SOP standardization and also safety margin. And if we want to, in a summary, have a comparison with these two kind of approach technique, I should tell you that about the speed on glide slope, decelerated approach start fast and decelerates in 2V approach, but yearly stabilized approach, constant V approach from early stages will happen. For the configuration, decelerated approach is a gradually configure the aircraft throughout the descent, but for early stabilized approach, it will be in an early stage of approach and fully configured before 1500 feet. For pilot workload, decelerated approach has a higher workload and more changes during a short period of time for pilots and also flight crew, but early stabilized approach has a lower and also few or no changes during the last, especially during the last stages of the approach. And for example, for fuel efficiency, the decelerated approach is very better because you fly toward the last stages of approach in clean configuration or lower selection of flap or a slat, but early stabilized approach has a slightly more fuel fuel consumption because due to drag of configuring the aircraft earlier and also lowering the gear and you flying at the lower speed during the approach. For the case usage of these two approaches, I'll talk to you that we totally use the decelerated approach when the finals are longer and also for the fuel saving operation, but early stabilized approach when the final of the approach is short, low visibility is at the airport, or maybe we are approaching to the busy airport. A stabilization point should be for the decelerated approach by 1000 feet AGL in IMC or 1500 according to airline SOP. But for the early stabilized approach, you should be before 1000 or 1500 feet AGL should be stabilized and also in full configuration during the approach. For the key points and also training notes for the rest of these items, for decelerated approach, fuel efficiency is the major item, preferred when time and space permits for decelerated approach. Requires careful monitoring of energy states. Also, configuration must not lag behind the glide slope descent. Use FMA callouts to monitor manage speed transitions. For the yearly stabilized approach, key points we should mention to the promotes a low workload and highly predictable approach, suitable for low visibility, busy aerospace, or unfamiliar terrain, and also preferred by many operators in SOPs for standardization. Reduce chance of unstable approach callouts. Okay, we are now should be focus on our approach. We are going to do a decelerated approach right now, and should be configured at 1000 feet AGL. Hope this briefing should be and also very useful for you for this approach speed techniques, and we are going to do the rest of the approach to Golf Charlie Lima Papa Airport and see how we can configure the aircraft for reaching the 1000 feet AGL in landing configuration with the decelerated approach technique. Just passing fly level 130, we are at Tutco at or below fly level 140, and over Golf Delta Victor should be at or above 7,000 feet. For summer 6 Charlie arrival, Madas is for summer 5 Delta only, and for Golf Delta Whiskey Gran Canaria VOR should be at or above fly level 70. Okay, everything is good, and this green circle shows that we are below the profile, although the aircraft maintained just 1,000 feet. Rate of descent, the speed is 280 right now, but I inserted 240 here. 240 at fly level 110. If we refer to descent page, should be at, when approaching fly level 110, this speed will change to 240, and aircraft will reduce the speed to 240 just when reaching the fly level 110. We are just past fly level 110 and speed limit exceeded, which was 240. 240 is here, and aircraft started to reduce the speed to 240, and also just passing to Tutco at or below fly level 140, descending to Golf Delta Victor VOR at or above 7,000 feet. We are just approaching almost 25 miles toward the airport, and we have a nice scene with a partial cloudy sky at the east of the island, just passing 10,000 feet, and the time for do the 10,000 feet. Items. We have just 2,160 kilogram fuel on board, and also for the Prague page. Okay, GPS primary and accuracy is high because of this note for the approach that RNAV for the here initial segment and also miss approach are nav1 required, also GNSS. There are some notes here for the approach. DME required, ILS DME read 0 at runway 03 left threshold, use of procedure depend on activation of Golf Charlie Delta -51, which is this danger area, which is not activated today, and today we do not have any no time for activation of this danger area. No obstacle free zone runway 03 left, and also ENETA holding RNAV1 required, RNAV1 DME, and also Lima Papa Charlie VOR DME and Golf Delta Victor VOR DME are critical DMEs. RNAV1 DME IRU Lima Papa Charlie VOR DME is critical DME. LAL2 holding RNAV1 GNSS required. ENETA holding is here, LAL2 holding here. Also we have two VOR, Golf Delta VOR just passing right now at or above 7,000 feet. As you see that we are at 9,200 feet, and the other VOR is here, Lima Papa Charlie. But the other item for LAL2 holding RNAV1 GNSS required, that we descending toward LAL2, and Lima Papa Charlie holding, which is not our case actually, and Tomos holding, which is here, which located at the south, actually east, southwest of the airport, which is not our case totally. And also a speed control that talk about the all speed restriction along the procedure with the max 210 at TSCA and 220 at LAL2, which reducing to 190 as FALPU, and then after the other limitation 160 up to 4 mile of the ILS. Okay, who is there? Hello, I'm Mike.
Cabin is now secure for landing.
Okay, thank you. Cabin is secure for landing. Nice landing. India Lima Papa with the frequency 109.9er, 5.3 mile identified, and reducing the range to almost 20. Auto brake low is calculated, and I would follow the procedure in manage speed and also nav mode, that you see that how this approach phase will be activated automatically. And right now we are almost 1,600 feet below the profile according to FMGEC calculation, and the aircraft is on a speed 240, which will be reduced to 220 knots just when approaching to LAL2 as this magenta circle just before LAL2, and should be at or above 5,000 feet. We have just almost about 17 mile to LAL2 right now. Okay, just passing transition level, and the QNH is 1018, and approach checklist. Approach checklist. Barrow ref 1018 QNH. Set seatbelt on. Minimum 392. Auto brake low. Engine exhaust selector normal. And approach checklist completed. Smoothly descending toward the island, and actually beautiful Gran Canaria. There is no weather reported about the Charlie Bravo and also Tango Charlie uniform clothes and any significant around the aerodrome. Just we have a time to check the weather again. MCDU, Atsu, and also ASC menu for the weather and weather request for the airport Golf Charlie Lima Papa, and for the METAR yes, and send return for received message, Fenix operation, and also return Fenix operation, no ADC required, checked. And also for the weather, okay, the weather right now is wind 360 degree 30 knots, variable between 330 and also 030. 10 km or more will be the visibility, view at 1800, scatter at 2500, temperature 26, dew point 17, and the QNH 1017. We'll modify and let's go for the approach phase. The QNH is 1017 3 times checked, and for here 1017 is set, temperature 26 and the wind 260 degrees 30 knots. Perfect. Speed reducing to 220, and we are just leaving the LAL2 toward Lacor. Is there any limitation in Lacor? Negative. Just the next limitation is at Tisca, maximum speed 210. The MSA is 8000 minimum safe altitude based on aerodrome reference for 8500 feet. And checked. Approach checklist is completed. We are perfect on profile. You can see that there is no vertical deviation, almost 3 feet, which is negligible. And going down to 2500 feet. After Lacor, proceeding to Nides. The pseudo point is 1 mile just before Tisca. We will mention it and review the procedure for activation of approach phase. We are in nav mode and also managed speed mode. At this time and also at this phase, the activate approach phase is blue and is visible and present at the descent performance page, but you can see that this pseudo waypoint indication with the magenta indication just before the point of Tisca. I review again. When the approach phase is activated, the aircraft speed will reduce to green dot speed, which is a minimum lift to drag ratio speed, and then after, according to configuration of the aircraft will reduce the speed automatically to S speed, then F speed, and finally V approach. And when the approach phase is activated, even manually or automatically, the approach speed will be in magenta shown here, just at the bottom of the speed scale on the PFD, and also this page will be disappear and approach page will automatically appear on the MCDU. There are some indication that you can identify that the approach phase is activated. When you are actually attending to the PFD, the good QN indication is the reducing speed to green dot, and also the indication and appearance of the approach speed and on the bottom of the speed scale indication on the PFD. We are just approaching this our pseudo point. You can see that we are almost 2 miles toward, and attention that what will be happen when passing the pseudo point. I repeat again, we are in nav mode and also speed managed. Good, it activated. You can see 140 here, and also the descent page for the performance disappear and automatically went through the approach page, and the aircraft is decelerating toward the green dot speed. Just before Falpu, we should have a speed of 190. It means after Adoki or just passing Adoki, we select the flaps 1 to decelerate the aircraft toward this speed. It's a limitation. Very nice scene when turning toward the island on this approach, and just passing Adoki, and we should be at or above 2500 and Falpu, just 3 miles to Falpu. Flaps 1, speed check, flaps 1, and you see that the aircraft automatically decelerate toward the S speed, which is almost 187 right now, or 185. We are clear for approach, and GS Lock Blue Cat 3 Dual AP1 plus 2. Lock star. Checked.
Terrain ahead. Pull up.
Checked. We are visual. And let me turn off the train mode. We are check 2500, and aircraft is descending toward 2000 feet. Lock checked. Runway inside. We are just passing 2300. Okay. Glide slope GS star, flaps 2, speed check, flaps 2, is approach altitude 3000 is set, and aircraft decelerating to F speed. Okay, gear down, speed check, gear down. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. Landing clearance received. Aircraft decelerating toward the F speed. And very nice view of the island. And flaps 3, speed check, flaps 3, flaps full, speed check, flaps full. Due to wind, I insert the 3 knots higher on a speed. 143 is the approach speed, although you can see that the ground speed is 125, true air speed 148, and the indicated speed 143 I inserted. Okay, landing checklist. Landing checklist will be ECAM memo landing, no blue cabin, ready, received. Landing checklist completed. Okay, we stabilize at 1,300 feet almost. Landing checklist completed, and it was a sample of decelerated approach that you continue higher speed. If you do not have any limitation as a constraint, you can continue higher a little bit, but today we had 1000 passed. We are stabilized on approach, and if you do not have any constraint, you will follow the procedure at the speed higher, but everything is about the decelerated approach as same as procedure that we followed today. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this guide toward the approach speed techniques by Airbus today, and it was a useful video and also tutorial for you. If you have any suggestion or recommendation, comment below this video, and thank you very much for joining me today on board Airbus A320 for this briefing and also guide. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride on board BoomerangSimPilot channel. As always, see you on the near future on next upcoming videos.